Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. This is the Streets, Traffic and Refuse Committee meeting for the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. And this meeting is called to order. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Bosley.
Present.
Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Peel.
Here.
Chair Tyus.
Present.
We have 8 present. You have a quorum.
Oh, well, thank you. Everybody's here today. I appreciate that. Today, I'm not going to do the approval of the minutes because I thought I saw a error in the minutes. And so I want to go back over them when we come back. I think I talked to almost all of you personally, except I don't think I got Alderwoman Evans, that we moved the meeting back to 11 because we had invited the director of the streets and the director of operations. And we, when I put all those board bills on the agenda, I thought that we were going to meet Friday. If we're not, we have time to have a meeting. We're going to come back the Wednesday before we come back into session, and we'll hear all those board bills then. So we just pushed the meeting back to, and I made a personal phone call also to, besides the members of the board, to all the people that were sponsoring bills. And we have with us today, going on to the next thing, we're not doing board bills. We have with us the Director of Operations, Ms. Nancy Cross, and the Director of Streets, Ms. Berthany Williams. And so we are going to swear them in, and then we're going to get right down to business. I know this is right before the holiday season, so hopefully we won't have a long meeting. And Alderman Bosley, you can, where are you? You can ask questions as long as you need to, because you get harassed for that. But I want you to know that the former Alderman Bosley and I, we have been known to take up a lot of breath and air. So I will never try to stop you from saying what you need to say, okay? I was trained by your father. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm never gonna tell you stop, okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So good morning, Director of Operations, Nancy Crossing. Good morning, Director of Streets, Berthany Williams. Because you are going to be testifying, I need to have you sworn in. We have an oath of office that you can either affirm or swear in. I need you both to raise your right hand. And pursuant to Article 4, Section 8 of the City Charter, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Or do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm.
I couldn't hear one of you all.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. I affirm.
Thank you. Okay, so we're back here for a variety of reasons. We had a very busy week. Last week we had Kent Flake and who is the Commissioner of Streets. And then we also had Rich Bradley, Director of BPS. And so they told us some very interesting things. I have been falsely accused of holding up the entry of board bills for the St. Louis Public Works. I first want to make a statement. You can't make me introduce a bill. You can, all of what you guys are doing will get it not introduced, or I will introduce it and say, and now what? Whoever's telling you your political advice, and I tried to have this conversation before off of the Zoom meeting, but now everything's going to be on record. That is not a good look at what you all are doing. I'm very thorough in keeping records, much more than what you think. And the last people who falsely accused me of that was Elliot Davis about 1.5 years ago. And what happened is he ran the story, and then I showed in 2.5 seconds that it wasn't true, and he had to keep running retractions. So I talked to the press yesterday, and I was disappointed because what they're telling me is from the mayor's office that you guys are trying to insinuate that Kent Flakes is scared of me, and somehow he came under oath and lied. I don't believe Mr. Flake lied. when I asked him, since I was falsely accused of holding up board bills and introduction of the St. Louis Public Works, when I asked him about if he had done does he do the board bills? He said he does. And I said, well, where is 2021-22? He said, I didn't do it. And I asked him why. He said, I just made a mistake and I didn't get it done. That's the most honest you can be. That's always what I tell people to do. When I make a mistake, I will say, ooh, I messed up. I'm sorry. I do not try to blame other people. And so if you guys are doing that, you really need to stop that, because it really, the press is laughing at you and don't believe it. So I don't know who from your office is doing that and thinks that's a good thing. I am not scared of a whispering campaign. I've been through 6 mayors and 6 presidents of the Board of Aldermen. So I do not care about you lying on me. Even when you think you're telling the truth, I have paperwork to show the rest of the story that you don't know. I would suggest both of you all try to ask me questions where I could tell you things, because what you're doing now will get me not working with you and me punching back. Only I will never lie on you. I will just show them the truth. And I will bring you before my committees and I will swear people in. And those people are not lying. Rich Bradley didn't lie and Ken Flake did not lie. It's whoever's from the mayor's office who's putting this misinformation out ought to be ashamed of themselves. Never mind, I finally did tell the press that I was sick for most of this year. And my co-chair had to actually come out and because on Zoom meeting, I fell out. He had to bring the fire department. And I want to thank him. Alderman Bosley really did a good job to my house. Everybody knows that because I was sick. I had surgery. Everybody knows that. I don't use that as a crutch. I don't need to use that as a crutch, because what you all are putting out is not true and you will make me swing back. Please try to be, you don't know City Hall the way I do. You don't know the press the way I do. Please stop this. And if it's the mayor telling you to do it, please advise her that's not a good look. You can't make me. I had a mayor for 3 years try to make me give TIF to the Snooks at Union and Natural Bridge. I got my butt beat by the Post-Dispatch, the American, and the other newspapers. At the end of the day, I didn't do it. That mayor got put out of office and we built it without TIF. That doesn't work with me if I know I'm right. And guess what? Craig Snooks came over and said, we knew you were right, but we just had a deal on the table. That doesn't work with me. What works with me, if you don't know what's going on, is to pick up the phone. When you guys were last here, I complained to both of you that I got complaints from people about Director Williams not returning her phone calls, not just from members of the board, which I have gotten plenty, but also for people who work for your administration. When she was testifying, I actually have texts, people saying she's not telling the truth. I know that she didn't return my phone calls up until November the 9th. The first time she returned my phone call about this board bill was November the 9th. We spoke on other occasions about some towing that didn't happen during the 4th of July weekend, but she did not. I called her. And when I call your cell phone, if I don't get you, I want to point something out to you. That's my personal cell phone that you all call. I have an office at the Board of Aldermen, as does each of our members of the board. We have a receptionist there. I have a secretary, and then I have a direct line. So if you complain to the press about how hard I was to catch up with, that is because my phone number has been out there for 30 years. So my community calls it. But I know both of you all have enough sense to know that if you cannot get me on my cell phone that belongs to me and it's not on anybody's anything that tells you to call me on my cell phone, that's what we have secretaries at the Board of Aldermen. Now, when I brought this up before, Ms. Williams said to me, when I talked about not returning phone calls, that she tries to return her phone calls, but if she didn't, she apologized. That's fine. But she did not call me back from the time November 9th, she called me. And then when she didn't get me, which is what I expect, she didn't text me. She emailed and said, I just call you. Then we started having a exchange. But from March until November, that did not happen. And so I pulled my phone records because, see, you will make me go to the extremes. I will subpoena your phone records and everything else. Please stop this trying to blame me. And so the other thing I did, just to make you understand, is that I went back and I started looking up about what bills were introduced about public works. Again, you already did not tell the truth because you told them I held up 2 years. I did not hold up 2 years because there was no such bill. In March, you put 2 bills together, but there was nothing that was given to me in 2021-22. And so if you put misinformation out, it's not a good look. I don't want to have this fight, and you can't make me introduce legislation. I'm a free person. So I'm used to being courted. If you want me to do something and you want my influence and you want the influence that I've gotten by being the chair of the street committee, you don't go out there putting out false information trying to cover up for yourself because you didn't know things. You say, oh, we didn't know this. This wasn't given to us. I just got a letter from you, an email from you, Mrs. Williams, Ms. Williams, saying that Kent Flakes now has sent me both budgets. I don't have any such thing from Kent Flakes, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I have nothing from him. So if he was supposed to send me something, I don't see it. Okay, so maybe he's going to send it today, but I don't have that. And one of the things that I brought you here to do is to try to find out again what was the breakdown for 2021 and 21-22 budget. What I found out is that there are other times when there wasn't a budget submitted, and I don't know what happened to that. I'm doing a thorough search so I can look at what happened to all of them. I wouldn't have done that. There was no fight. You created a fight that did not need to be done. And also you're shopping about how much money I got in my account for the first ward. You ought to ask Rich Bradley before you do that, why I have it. And then you would know I have tons of paperwork about them holding stuff up. This is what happens. Just like the mayor holds up our ARPA funds, they hold up your projects. You might ask Alderman Cohen how he had, when I came back, he had to wait for 4, 5, 6 years for some trees. I have requested curbs since 2013, and people have played a game. My money sits right up there. So when you tell people, oh, she's not spending her money, you better know that I have made a paper trail, and it will lead back to the mayor's office, not you guys, but it will lead back to a mayor's office. So all that stuff you're doing, you don't have to worry about me. If I'm holding up something, I'm going to tell you again, I will stand in the middle of Kings Highway and Natural Bridge and tell people I'm holding this up. This is the reason I'm holding it up. It doesn't include Black people. It doesn't include North St. Louis. It's blah, blah, blah. I don't hold up bills for no reason. And I don't let people try to make me sponsor bills. You can't make me sponsor a bill. So whatever you all are doing from Room 200 is irresponsible, and it's dishonest. And if you're undermining what Mr. Kent Flake said, I don't know if either one of you are doing it. I don't believe he sat there under oath and lied, okay? So I believe him. I also had Rich Bradley come before us, and we asked about the $7.6 million worth of money that we moved. He hadn't done anything with that, no paving. And not only that, it was another $8 million of traffic calming and paving. And that was in South St. Louis in the Central Corridor. So we're talking about over $15 million. Why you want to talk about me? That's been sitting up there since we passed the bill in April. And we got through a whole paving season and none of that money was spent. And when I asked Rich Bradley about it, he said to me, well, we held it up. And I said, well, I know him. He didn't hold that up without somebody telling him. I've been knowing him way before I know you all. They held it up because they was waiting for the mayor's traffic calming bill. Now, as I recall, Director Cross, we got at crosshairs back when the mayor first came in because I introduced the the speed hump bill, and you and the now president of the board wanted me to hold it up while you all do this traffic study. That was over 1.5 years ago. I have to this day yet to receive a traffic study or entire traffic study or city traffic study. I see, when I was in the hospital, I saw the mayor making these announcements about what was going to happen. When I asked Mr. Bradley, where was the board bill? I don't see a board bill. That's 1.5 years later. But you're already on record saying that's why I should have held it up, which I didn't. I had enough it was a veto-proof bill. And now what I'm laughing at is the president of the board, she's one of the first person to get in line and get speed humps. It's one of the most popular things because it doesn't have anything to do with traffic flow. It slows traffic down on residential streets. I don't necessarily disagree with having a traffic plan and a traffic study. I just know that I haven't gotten anything in a year and a half. And so when you talk all this talk about people holding things up, a year and a half ago, you guys said you were going to do that. We still don't have it. And $15 million is sitting around while every day I hear from people who get their tires punctured. They get getting that, losing their hubcaps, all of this. Nobody talked to me. And I sat here and asked every member of this committee if anybody had talked to them and the people that are not on this committee, because there are people here right now that are not on this committee, and nobody talked to them about, oh, we're just going to hold this money up, and didn't ask them what they wanted. The alderwoman from the 27th ward actually had a shovel-ready project that was held up. So I'm greatly disappointed because I just thought I was at the end of a line and that things were getting done. And to hear that over $15 million is set up there, but I saw them out there paving around the stadium. That sends a horrible message to the people who live in our communities, that you paving around the soccer stadium, but you're not paving in their neighborhoods. And I'm talking Kings Highway, Union, Riverview, Goodfellow, Grand, down in South St. Louis, from Grand, one end of Grand to the other, from one end of Kings Highway to the other. They had another thing, I don't know, I can't remember, but I'm hearing from other alder people, they've been waiting for all this paving. And I also got a listing of where they have paved in the city, which I'm going to share with all of the aldermen. I don't keep information, I share it. And so many people are very upset with the street department. And you can try to blame me all you want to. It is not. These people have had money sitting up there for years. Now, I gave you guys a break. And this is even before you got here, Mrs. Williams, because when I met with the 3 men who were running the street department before you got here, the first thing they told me is they did not know about what had happened with the 50-50 sidewalk money. They couldn't find it. The guy had left. They needed time to do it. And that would have been, Jamie Wilson was still the director. Who came? Kent Flake came. And I want to say, who else? I can't remember who the third person was right now. But anyway, maybe it was Randy Brightenfield about trash, because we were just talking about the street department, what was going on. But for a whole year and a half, I didn't say anything. I didn't shop. Do you know they don't know where the money is? I just let you all get your footing. So you repay my kindness with putting out misinformation and lying on me. I will not put up with that. Again, you are telling lies that are easily proven. What you need to do is stop doing that. You're trying to undermine me. I'm not scared of any of you all. And I will match my 31 years to yours and the mayor's. None of you all got me elected. I helped the mayor get elected. And the things that how you treat my community, you've done absolutely nothing in my community. And to hold these people's money and not talk to them, I am just appalled. So you can keep putting this misinformation out, but people know who I am. They know I try to get their board bills done. I don't have a reason to want money sitting up there, except for that mayors hold things up, and then they try to play a political game. There's a way to track. I showed Elliot Davis that when he put that information out about me holding up the COVID money that former Alderman Jeffrey Boyd put out. There's a way to track. He ran it. I could have sued his station. If you guys keep doing this, then I will show them something that you don't even know you don't know. And then we will have a lawsuit. Stop this right now. I'm not holding up anything, and you can't force me. You can ask me to sponsor a bill. You cannot force me. And if you had sat down and talked to me in a manner of, look, hey, this happened. We didn't know about this. I know you're new, Director Williams. I know there's lots of things you don't know. You also, Director Cross. But I do know some of those things. And I'm in politics to help women if they want to be helped. But if you do this stuff, I will not help you. We will just be at war. And I want you to understand that. When you lie on me, I spend my time showing how you are not telling the truth. So when Director Flake said he didn't do a budget for 21, what is it? He said he didn't do a budget for 2020 and 2021, then there's no way I could have held it up. Did Ms. Williams send me something in March? Yes. She sent me something in March, and I called her in March. She did not return my call. Then I talked to Kevin Bailey about it, and I told him, you are not the person who is the director of streets. You can't bring this to me. The first time I just called on her cell phone, I then called and I talked to Mary in the office and left her a message did not return my call. The first return call I got, because I searched my messages to see if you call my secretary, I searched my history, was November the 9th, except for in July, when you, director of streets, and I talked about towing. So the misinformation that you all are putting out, I didn't tell half the story, but now I've searched all the stuff. I have no problems releasing the records because the data is what it is. So I would ask you to please stop this. And if you think you can make me do something, I want to see you do that. But I would suggest you call my husband and my mother and many of the 5 mayors before you, and they would all advise you that's not a good look you're doing. Please stop. I first want to start with Director Williams, because you sent me an email yesterday, and if you could unmute, I'd appreciate it, saying that Kent Flakes had sent me the budget for 2021 for and 21-22 for the St. Louis Works. Now I don't have anything for Kent. When was he supposed to send that to me?
So first, for the record, my name is Bethany.
Okay, Bethany.
So thank you.
Director, I'll just call you Director Williams. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay.
So I do stand corrected. The email that I responded to you was the paving list that you requested for 21 and 22. He has not sent the breakdown of the STO works for 21 and 22. But like I did explain, the reason that we combined 2022 St. Louis Works was because it had not been done in 2021. So that budget that I shared with you was a reflection of both years. And per your request, I did ask him to break it out for 2021 and 2022, just so that you can see how it added up to the one budget that we did submit to you for 2022. And it says 2022, but it is a reflection of both years funding almost 5 million from each of the individual years combined into that one budget that was submitted back in March.
And when you submitted it to me, I called you because I only saw one. And my question back then, which was until you just answered it now, was what happened to 2021? Okay, because that was not reflected in that. You did not respond to me. Mary, and what I would like you to do is search your records to see if you responded, because the first time I knew that you had responded to me was November the 9th. And after you sent me something saying on November the 9th, I called you back, then me and you did play telephone tag then, but I returned your call. But before that, when I called you, and that's why I talked to you on November the 14th about the complaint about not returning calls, okay? Because I wanted to know, nobody gets me to sponsor anything that I don't know what's in the bill. I can't answer it because I don't let people come before my committee, or I don't let them get on the floor and they don't know what they're talking about. So if I sponsor a bill, and I don't even really owe you this explanation, when I sponsor a bill, I let my vice chair handle it. I go before them as a committee member, and then I have to tell them why this is a good idea to pass it. And when I cannot answer a simple fact of what is this big amount here, then that's not a good look for me. I am not a hypocrite. I am as hard on me as I am on anybody else. So you did not respond. And I want you to show me where you responded, because then I called Mary. But once you told me you had called me back, I called you, and then we did play telephone tag. And that's why I even agreed to introduce the bill, not to advance it, but to make sure we get this straight and stop putting misinformation out.
So my original request back in March to you was to start the conversation, because at that point I knew that this was my first time presenting a St. Louis Work bill, or to just have the conversation with you and the committee about how we can move it forward. It was never demanding that or encouraging you to present the board bill. It was only asking that we start the conversation about the board bill. From there, the conversation.
Yes, can I speak?
Excuse me,
Is
somebody
Dr.
needs some,
Bayer still the principal
Dwayne,
there?
please, mute your mic, please.
Uh,
Or please, somebody mute,
This is
Alderwoman Evans.
Gwendolyn Evans, Alderwoman of the 4th Ward.
Can you
Could,
mute her mic,
is he
please?
available?
Can you mute her? Thank you. I'm sorry.
And so that was the original email that did come out that I sent to you, just started asking for us to start the conversation about the St. Louis Works bill. The emails that we had communicating back and forth since then was all talking about other issues with light poles and things of that nature. It never came back to a question about the St. Louis Works until here now. I did get word from Kevin Bailey in the mayor's office that I needed to send it to you again because you had been sick. And I said, okay, I was fine with that. I sent it again saying I wanted to put it back at your email, top of your email list so that we can have that discussion. I'm not sure where these phone calls are coming from that you gave to me that I did not respond to. Every phone call that you've called me, I have responded to you from. And Mary, yes, you did call Mary. And the good conversation was that you had my cell phone number and you would call me on my cell phone. Mary even was upset the fact that she didn't write the message down and give to me because the conversation was that you would respond to her. But like I said, I keep all these pink little pieces of paper that she gives me. I definitely will go through them to see which ones that I have not responded to from you and figure out how can we move this forward. This is monies, funds that we can be paving with, we can be doing work in the community. And I just want to figure out how do we move it forward from here.
We move it forward by telling the truth about what happened. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read your March 2nd email, and you're not going to run this. You're over at the Board of Aldermen in the legislative session, okay?
I'm not trying to.
Good afternoon, Alderwoman Tyus. Please find attached the 2022 St. Louis Works budget. We are requesting your support and willingness to introduce the budget to the Board of Aldermen for approval. You did not say anything about conversation or anything. When I saw this, I said, wow, what happened to because I want you to understand something. I have been on streets since 1991 when I was on the board. The only time I wasn't on streets was 2 years prior to that, because that was when the Alderman Boyd and now the mayor, but she was the treasurer, were having their falling out, and they didn't want me on that committee because I would take up for now the mayor, but at that time was the treasurer. So he had me removed. You did not talk about discussion. I called you back when I got that. Then I got an email from within a couple of days. I called you. Then I got a email from Kevin Bailey. And that was on 3/21. Would I consider please supporting the St. Louis work bills? I then called him and said, I need to talk to the director to let her know that I need to ask questions because this is only one bill. Because I'm looking at this like this is really big. What happened to the 2021 bill? Okay. Yes, I do. When I call people on their cell phones, and I told you the last time, to me, the city should consider getting a separate professional phone. And because when I call you on your cell phone, I don't stop there because I know that you have a secretary. I know that there is an actual phone number that I can call for your secretary and leave a message. No place on my cards does it tell you to call me at 314-367-2374 because I just let the people call me because they've had that phone number for 30 years. I'll let you call. But if you really want to reach me, I got all kinds of numbers in my office at the Board of Aldermen, just like you two do, either at the street department or the mayor's office. So when you say, oh, she was so hard to get a hold of, but I got not one call from you in my office, that's an excuse. You're covering up. You didn't do what you should do. You should always follow up. And that's what I did. I would call Mary because Mary is the secretary that I've dealt with for as many years as I've been here. So I would call her and say, I'm trying to reach Director Williams. I'm trying to reach Commissioner Flakes. That's what I do when I don't get you all, because that's your professional number. So when you put out to the press, you couldn't get me because I was so hard. And it may not have been you, because I don't really think it was you. But whoever put it out, that's what I had. I don't believe it was you. Whoever put that out, I got a professional number. And so if you put that out and you didn't do that, shame on you. And I'm talking about whoever put it out in the mayor's office, okay? Because my secretary will get to me, or I have a direct line that goes to my desk that I pick up, and most aldermen do. So she was so hard to get a hold of. I was sick. So let me just say this. I was very sick. Again, I passed out on a Zoom meeting, okay? And Alderman Bosley came to my house with the fire department. I was very, very sick, and I had a serious operation in October, but I was still doing my job. That's my fault. I was also meeting with the mayor and the president of the board and the comptroller about the ARPA fund. So I was doing a lot of things, okay? Don't try to act like Sharon Tyus doesn't do her job. And it's not directed at you, because I really think it came from the mayor's office. And I resent that, because I got the mayor snippets out there telling the former president, board of Alderman, and I was working with Alderwoman Tyus. She was. Now, Kevin Bailey knows this. The meetings that we had, I was so sick, I was throwing up and still coming to the meetings because I was very sick. Okay. And so I don't use that as excuse, but I use that to say, funny how you guys couldn't get me, but the mayor's office, the comptrollers, everybody else could get me, the alderman, but you're out here saying, well, her line was busy or hard to get a hold of. That's because you didn't use my professional number. That's on my card. In case you don't know, you can call 622-3287. That is the Board of Aldermen's main number. And if you do that, my secretary will pick it up and will let me know of my messages. So that is something you didn't do, not you, but whoever put that out, count that to you being unprofessional, because that's what I do. When I call people, if I can't get them on their cell phone, I'll call their office. So I resent that implication, because I could just use, I was sick. I really was sick, very, very sick. But I still was doing my job, okay? And I don't appreciate it. So if the mayor can get me and Kevin Bailey could get me, then other people could have got me too. That's not at you, because that is directed at you, Director Cross, because you put that stuff out, and whoever's in the mayor's office shopping stuff. So the press said to me, well, why didn't you say how sick you were? I don't have to use that, because whoever called me and didn't get me and put it out in the press and didn't call me on my professional line, they were unprofessional. And they ought to take that back and claim they were unprofessional. So anyway, I just want to say, I want you to keep going through, because this is what I got from you on November. Let me get it here. We went through from March to whatever. I never got a call back. But in November, I got September, I had got a letter. I didn't get anything in November. When you did call me back, you emailed me and said, I just called you. From then on, we had correspondence. Before that, we didn't. But we don't get past, we lied on you. And then we not being necessarily you, Director Williams, we being the mayor's office, that don't go away. And it's not going to go away till you stop doing that stuff, okay? I will always respond and say that's not true. And if then you're going to undermine Kent Flakes and BPS, Richard Bradley, I don't believe you guys over there. There's no reason for Kent. And then the press tells me that you all is shopping. Well, he's so scared of Sharon Tyus that he would lie under oath and say he didn't do something. And now you guys are confirming it wasn't done. So, and you were new. And I didn't come after you guys. I didn't say, oh, they're not doing stuff, because it was hard. That guy from Sidewalk disappeared. So I gave you room to get stuff together. So then when you come out and act like that, trying to think that you're going to undermine me, and that's the mayor's office, then that leaves me no choice but to tell all the stuff that you don't do, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're not done right. Again, I'm going to ask you, stop it. If you got questions and you don't get me on my cell phone, which you don't have a right to do, call my office and I'll call you back. So anyway, Director Williams, you said that Commissioner Flakes has not sent me a breakdown, that he just sent me the street paving. Is that correct?
Yes, so we were, when we started the 2022 St. Louis Works budget, we were told to combine 2021 and 2022. So the
Who is
budget
we?
that
Excuse me, who is we?
the streets department. So when I was told it was time for me to submit the St. Louis Works budget for a board bill, the decision had been made prior to me coming from, and I'm assuming the comptroller's office, to combine the two. Just like now, they're telling us to combine all 3 years, 2021, 2022, and 2023. But I have asked Kent to separate them out because that is what you've requested, that we separate 2021, 2022, and 2023. And so the email that I responded to was the street paving that had been done in those years. And so now he is working to get you the separation of the St. Louis Works budget for 2021, 2022, as well as giving you 2023.
So what, you don't have to introduce a whole new bill. So what you can do is just break them out in the bill, and you can add 2023 and put it on there, so that'll get all 3 of them done. Okay, and that's what happens when we work together. Does not have to be a separate bill. You can just send me the information. We will do a committee substitute, and we will make sure that it reflects that. When people are looking for certain things, one of the things we instituted while I was the chair of the rules, if we instituted having a cover that told you much more what was in the bill. So if somebody's looking for one of those years' budget and it's all compiled in one, then that's hard to look for. I'm very much a data-driven person, okay? And so it does need to be broken out into each year, so that if I'm looking for one of those years, it will be on the cover page and they can then look for it. And we're trying to make sure the public knows what we're doing, okay?
Okay, I will
All
make
right.
sure that we get you those spreadsheets for that.
And it doesn't even have to be, it can be just what you, okay, and maybe you're calling the spreadsheet Exhibit A.
The Excel spreadsheet that we
Okay.
gave you with the board bill, it
Right.
has it reflects money for 2 years.
Right.
What we
And
will
you're gonna
do
break
is
it out.
do sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3
Okay.
of that shared spreadsheet.
And then it can still be one board bill is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, and
still
since
one
all
board bill.
committee, I will hold it for that. And before we go back, if you get that, we're gonna have a meeting the Wednesday before we come back into session, and that can be done, okay?
Okay.
So now I want to know, and so you said you got this information about doing the budget from the comptroller's office? Is that who did it?
So yes, I was told that we needed to submit 2022's St. Louis work budget to include the funds that had not been included in 2021 and just put it on one budget together. And so that's why it was presented in that manner.
And that was the comptroller's office.
Yes, told us
Okay.
the total number, the total dollar amount. So I'm still waiting for the total dollar amount we have for 2023 so that Kent will know what he is to process, what he's to budget for. Because
Okay.
until we have that number, we can just pull numbers out the sky, but so that we make sure they're reflective of the dollar amount that is going to be transferred. That is how we are able to break that down. So until we get that number, it's impossible for us to do.
And so you and Kent work on the budget together?
Yes, Kent,
Okay.
all of the commissioners of the different divisions, we set up individual meetings to do budgets, yes,
Okay.
for their divisions.
So, and I just want to make this clear again, you did not, when you came here in October, you were not reaching out to me for the 2021 budget at that time.
No, because I was under the impression it was 2022 and everything was lumped together. So
Okay.
me dealing with 2021 and a breakout just came here within the last month of the two of us communicating.
I know, because you guys are all new. And so you don't know how things are done. Kent does. And so that's why I say, use the fact we don't know and we're learning, not trying to strike out and try to blame other people. And that doesn't work. Okay.
And at no given time do I want to throw blame, as
Okay.
I want to take ownership, but I think it's important that the attempts were made and the reach outs were made.
But
to-
they
to
were not. I want to make
communicate.
us again. That's why I was calling Mary. When I could not get you, I then would call Mary. So again, I'm going to insist on this because it's not just me, and I don't need you to hear this. I'm hearing in my ear from other older people, She will not return my call. I asked her to do this. You need to hear this, okay? If you are,
You're
and I
correct.
ask you again, I don't want it to be a political thing. I'm going to support my worst enemy on the board if they tell me you will not return their phone calls. It is so hard to be a member of this Board of Aldermen, and you get all these phone calls from people, and then you tell them one thing, and then you get blindsided by administration that's doing something else, okay? So like I said, because I've been here so long, I don't just call people's cell phones, because when I got here, we didn't have cell phones. But I do call Mary and say, can you leave the message for the person? And I'm surprised that Mary doesn't have the messages, because Mary is very good and very thorough.
She is very thorough with
right.
it. And that was a conversation we had, because when I got word that you had called looking for me, and she called me and said, did Alderwoman Tyus call you on your cell phone? And I said, no, she did not. And she said, well, she said she's going to reach out to you, because
Right.
she was upset that she didn't record a message at that point. So
Okay.
there is communications where we have attempted. And like I said before, you know, last time I was here and we talked about this same issue of all the persons that have called me and I've not returned their phone calls, I've asked them to contact me. If they want to tell you who they are and you send me a list of these people that I have not called, or all the persons or whoever it is that I have not called back, please share that information with me.
I told them to call you themselves, and that if they gave me again, I would say names. I don't like to pretty much carry things. I think people ought to say what they have to say to people's face, because that's who I am, okay? And so I want them to do that, because I think every alderperson, all 28 of us, deserves respect. It is a hard job. You deserve respect, but a phone call trying to figure out what is going on with this ward capital, Public Works, 50/50 sidewalk, whatever, that deserves some response from somebody. I think, and I will tell you as the director of streets, that Mr. Flake has too much under him. I told him that, right. And I've told public safety that's too much. Just the tow lot, which has been a problem since before I became the chair, is a whole handful right there. But you got 50/50 sidewalk, you got the MSD, sewer lateral, all of these things. That's too much to try to do. And I think you ought to break some stuff out. You need to look at moving some stuff around a little bit. That's even creating another, I don't know, subdivision or whatever. So that's my thought on that. Since you are having Mr. Flake work on getting me the breakout, I don't really want to have a conversation until I actually have a breakout about the board bill 243, which I told you after we talked the last time that I would introduce, but I wasn't going to proceed with it until I had the correct information. Okay. So,
yes.
Right. So I will wait to see what I get, and hopefully it will be in the next couple of weeks.
It will be.
Okay. And then let's see here. I will tell you that in 2018-19, and I'm going to ask to send this over, there was not a board bill in 18-19. I don't know what happened. So I don't know if that got rolled into 19-20, but I will have some written questions to you. And it wasn't you, but what I ended up doing is I then went and started listing all the ordinances and the sessions, and if there was a board bill, because I was trying to see what's going on, okay? So I will send you an email talking to you about, in 13 and 14, there wasn't one. 15, 16, there wasn't one. I'm sorry, 12, 13, 13, 14, 2 years in a row, there wasn't one. And then 15, 16, there wasn't one. And then 18, 19, and then 20, 21, 21, 22, there wasn't one. So I don't know why those got skipped. But since now I'm on a trail, I will be trying to find out what happened, and probably Kent or the comptroller's office, and I'll talk to Paul Payne. Somebody can explain to me what happened, okay?
And so I just want to, we were talking about the piece of me asking or demanding, you felt that I demanded the St. Louis Works budget to be presented, and emails that I sent asking for us to have the conversation. So I did.
I don't have one. I don't have any
May,
email from you asking for a conversation, okay?
So on May the 31st is the email that I sent to you asking for us to start the conversation is it any questions that I can answer? That was on May the 31st, where I shared that information, that corresponded with you.
Okay, I'll go back here and look, because they're, a good thing about this, they're all linked. So 321.
So you,
Okay.
you read
Yes,
earlier
okay,
the
you
March
do.
12th.
It is one on May the 31st, okay? That was right after that I passed out and was sick, okay? Was really sick, but that is one on May the 31st. And then, so when you did, the next time I heard from you was 9/16, which I responded immediately back to, because I had got a blood transfusion. I'll tell you that. I had 4 in that time, and I was in the hospital 4 times. But before that, I hadn't been in the hospital, and I did call you back. I'm pretty good at calling people back unless you have gotten on my nerves, and then I purposely don't call you back. And you will know that I'm not calling you back because you have gotten on my nerves. But mostly if it's about doing business, and you haven't been attacking me and lying on me, I get back to you, okay? Because I want this to go well. And I was one of the supporters of this mayor, and I want her to look good. But sometimes you have to hear conversations that you don't want to hear. And if you get mad and don't hear them, then you don't get things done. So, but before that, I never heard, and before May, in March and April, all I heard was, can you do this? Can you do this? And that's when I called you back. And that's what I'm saying. And that's when I was talking to Mary. And if I don't get you even today, I will call Mary and say, can you leave her a message that I tried to get with her? That's my procedure. To me, that's professional, because you may not be able, your cell phone could be full, you may not look at it, but that's what a secretary or a receptionist is for, as far as I'm concerned, okay? So we're gonna get past that, because I don't really think that you were the person that was doing that. I don't think that's your agenda, but there is somebody's agenda. And so the next person I want to talk to, if you got anything else to tell, I'm sorry, committee members, do you have any questions for Director of Streets, Ms. Williams? And if no committee members, I see a hand for from the 24th. Wait a minute, Alderman Bosley, do you have a question?
No, ma'am,
Okay,
at the moment.
all right, I see the hand, Alderman Vaccaro.
I have no question.
Okay, Alderman Ryan, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Chairwoman Tyus, and thank you for recognizing me, even though I'm not on this committee. I really appreciate it. Ms. Williams, Director Williams, I've been having an issue with the Streets Department for a year now. On the 21st of last year, December 21st of last year, I met with Larry Tyler to discuss repaving Clayton Avenue. Through the business district, a large swath of Clayton Avenue. He indicated that we would probably be able to start work on that in the spring. On January 17th, I transferred the funds to pay to have Clayton Avenue repaved in the 24th Ward. This is in addition to the budgeting that I always fund the Streets Department 100% in the budgeting cycle. So this was funding for this specific project. I understand that BPS had to do some work on the sidewalks and bring things into compliance with ADA. So they did that work, and it has been sitting there for months and months and months and months now. And every time I talk to anyone at the Streets Department, they tell me that it will be repaved in the next 30 days. Then I go and I tell all my constituents, it's going to be repaved in the next 30 days, is what the Streets Department tells me. And it makes me look like an idiot, and it makes the administration look bad, because we're just continuing to punt on these issues. And all I want is just a date certain that people will be out there working on it. I understand being short-staffed. I understand that we may not have all the tools at our disposal that we would like to have. I certainly feel the brunt of that on a regular basis. But I don't think it's unrealistic to say, okay, when can you get to this? Because I was told in the summertime, okay, we're definitely going to get to it before the fall. And then in the fall, I was told, oh, we're definitely going to get to it before the weather changes and it gets too cold. Now, here I am, almost a year after I met and stood in the cold with Larry Tyler and went over the project on the ground. I remember it quite clearly because it was about 4 degrees out that day and I forgot my gloves. So it's one of those that's kind of seared into my head. And I have been waiting patiently. And the streets department has told me when I've asked to do things like fill the potholes and I think it's called the buckle, like the middle of the street that is in really, really poor condition. I've been told, oh, well, you know, we're going to repave the whole thing, so no big deal. In the meantime, I'm getting calls from all kinds of bicyclists, all kinds of drivers that are hitting these potholes and these roads that are just in god awful condition. And every time I'm telling them, well, the streets department says it's gonna be repaved in 30 days. And they go, okay, Alderman, thank you so much. And then 45 days later, they go, what the heck?
Yeah.
So what is going on? Because this doesn't seem like it's an issue just with me. It seems like I'm talking to a lot of my colleagues and they are having the same issues. And I think to a different extent, I certainly understand the Alderwoman from the first frustration when I've been told for a year this is going to get done, and then I see paving happening in projects that weren't even thought about a year ago.
Yep.
It's incredibly frustrating, and I just want some answers from my constituency. I hope that you understand that I'm not mad at you individually. I'm just very frustrated with this situation.
And thank you, Alderman, for bringing that again to my attention. Last week, I think the last 2 weeks, Kent has been on kind of explaining some of the paving challenges that we've had this year. We did not get our equipment back until September, may have not been September, a little bit before then, of this year to start paving for 2022's list of paving. And before that, on top of that, we still had paving that we were not able to complete for 2021. So at that point, we were up against commitments that we had on the list from 2021 and trying to fill as much of 2022 requests that we could in a short window of time. We have crews now that are currently still out working in between cold weather days, any good weather day we have. We are trying to put people out on the street, a paving team, because of the setback that we had from the beginning. I will say, this is not acceptable when you look at timelines and we just keep saying the next 30 days, the next 30 days. And that is a discussion that I've had internally. We have to put our pride on the back burner and say, hey, look, it's not going to happen this week. It's not going to happen this month, and be more realistic with timelines. And so that's where I'm trying to get these guys to start communicating. You know, instead of saying, oh, we'll get it next week, oh, we'll get it in 30 days, when we know logistically we cannot get it in 30 days or we can't get it in a week, we have to stop saying that, because we're setting ourselves up to be in the place where I am now, trying to defend us saying, oh, the next 30 days, and now here we are a year later. So I will ask Kent to see where it is on the paving list. They're going from top to bottom. It's not like they're just saying, oh, put this project in, or, oh, this is funded by a developer or whatever it is, put them in on top of residents. No, we are trying to get as much of this done that we can paving, so that once we start and we're able to start looking at the pavement in the Board Bill 184, we will have the crews that can just do that paving. So, because we know we won't be able to focus on any residential areas at that time. We're gonna be mainly focused on these arterial corridors that are listed in Board Bill 184 that need to be paved. So it's not like we're jumping around. We are going by the list. And I will make sure if it's, see where you fall on this list and have that real conversation. And I do apologize that no one had that conversation with you. I just pulled up the last email that you sent out on November the 2nd, asking for an update, you know, and it's like, what are we doing? When are we gonna be able to pave Clayton Avenue? And I can guarantee you on November the 2nd, they were at no place to even start looking at the items from 2022. So if your funds were transferred at the beginning of 2022, I can promise you that it's not anytime soon to be done. So if we're able to get it in before on one of these last warm days that we can squeeze in, I will encourage them, if it's on the list and it's next, to try to do their best to facilitate that. But if not, it will be next season before it's paved. And I'm just telling you the truth.
I appreciate that, because that's at least something that I can take to my people, and they'll understand that the punting 30 days just I think
and we
creates
just have
an incredible amount of frustration.
Right. And we just have to change that narrative of our service level, our level of service. It is not the same because of our labor shortages. We just can't produce how we would produce before. I've even talked to these guys like, we need to pull these signs down and talk about we'll be street sweeping every second Monday or Tuesday or cleaning or whatever, when we know we're behind in this. So it's those types of things, having those tough conversations now, because our labor numbers are at the place where we have to have those conversations and be more transparent and be okay with the fact that we cannot honor the commitments that we did in the past when we were at full capacity.
I appreciate that. And then just so that everyone kind of knows, what are the temperature requirements that need to be in place for the streets department to repave roads? How warm does it need to be?
So typically we like it in the upper 40s, sunny day, if possible. It depends on the mix design that they're using, and that's more of a Kent Flake question. I haven't been able to dive into types of mix designs and a warm mix and hot mix, things of that nature. So I'm not totally sure of the set temperatures, but typically you're looking at something in your higher 40 degrees, almost 50 degrees before you can pave any pavements.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And one more question, and then I will I'll yield, and I guess you'll still
don't have to, Alderman, ask your questions.
What is going on with towing? I've had car. It takes a superhero to get a car towed, even after it's been stickered for towing. I've had to essentially go around the streets department and get the police department to tow cars, and they only, understandably, they have limited resources as well, and so they're only wanting to tow things when, you know, there's some element of criminality or some inherent danger, or, you know, something like that. And you know, I understand that, and I hate to use police resources on something that is a streets department issue. But if you could just shed some light on that, I just want to know, is it a personnel thing? Is it a machinery thing? What can we do to fix this and get this working again? I know towing in the city of St. Louis has long been contentious, and I hesitate to even wade into it. But when aldermen are requesting that cars are being towed and those cars aren't moving for months, there's a problem.
Right. And so currently we are at full capacity, our tow lot. And we are trying as soon as we can get cars auctioned out that we can have the space and the capacity to bring cars in. That's what we're doing. That lot currently holds, I think, 900 vehicles, and it may be 12 to 1,300 that are in there now. Literally, cars are almost stacked on top of each other, you know, just that's how close, bumper to bumper, because we have no room. You know, sometimes I just park out front because the driveway entrance to the back side of the tow lot, we have cars all lined down the driveway. That's how many vehicles we have in the tow, you know, currently at the tow lot. We are doing everything we can. Two things. One, to figure out how do we get a new facility. So we are actively looking for a new facility that will give us some more space. And until then, if I can't find funding and find a facility, how do we make sure, you know, we're getting those cars out of there? We're auctioning off those cars when people are not picking them up. We have a large number of cars that have police holes on them that's caught up in some type of investigation that we cannot move until that investigation is completely done. So we are just at total capacity. Yes, I have a TO, I think, for 10 drivers, and I have 7 to 8 now. And so we're looking all the time, trying to fill these vacancies so that I can have drivers on all of the shifts that can go out and get these derelict vehicles that are in neighborhoods, but I just have nowhere to put them right now. We have the request, and, you know, that's how I try to look at it. If it's something that, you know, none of it's safe. At no given time do I want anyone to think that I think an abandoned vehicle in front of someone's home or in a neighborhood is safe. But if it's like in a lane, or if it's close to a corner or something of that nature, I try to ask them to investigate that to see, okay, is it something that we can kind of hold off on, or is it something that we need to pull up right away? So this goes back to my statement I just made about that full transparency of what we are able to do right now with the current conditions that we're in. When we look at staffing, lot capacity at the tow lot, you know, some of our trash services being picked up, we just have to put this in perspective and tell that story and put it out there so people know. Because the expectation is after 7 days, that car is ticketed and is towed, and we're just not at a place where we can do that.
I appreciate that. And I think the real takeaway here that I have is that we just need better communication out of the streets department on when things are going to get done. I understand that, you know, the guys on the ground are busting their butts day in and day out, and I don't want to sound ungrateful for their work. I think we need more of them, and I think they need to be better paid. But the communications coming back out to my constituency is just breeding a real distaste for not just the streets department, but a lot of city services in general. Just that people are getting told certain timelines, and it's just not even close.
Right.
But I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your candor, and thank you for coming before us. And with that, I will yield.
Thank you.
I do want to say Kent Flex was here last week, Alderman Narayan, and he basically told us we probably were not going to get any more paving this year. He didn't, because he said you could do 50-50 sidewalk like that when it got warm, but that once the streets, that you can't go back and forth, that once it gets cold, that it would crack. So we pretty much are not going to get any paving. They're doing around the stadium because that is something that has been 31 years of downtown is more important. And if it cracks, they'll just fix it. But we're into the next year. I'm just gonna, and you can go back and look at the video, the Zoom meeting, and that's what we addressed it then. Okay, so.
Thank you for that.
Okay. The next person who had their hand up was Alderwoman Ingracia of the 6th Ward.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to weigh in, even though I'm not on the committee. I just wanted to echo some of the same concerns as the alderman from the 24th with respect to towing. I also have continued issues that I have not been able to get answers on about refuse pickup and recycling. So it looked like on Twitter, somebody from the streets department said that they're merging trash and recycling when there's been commingling or, it's not going to work in terms of recycling. But I have a number of alleys in the 6th ward, and I saw some other people talking on social media about it who know that there's no commingling and they're still being picked up together. And I don't understand why that's happening or how the streets department knows that those things have been commingled if no one is looking at that beforehand. I find that very troubling. And then also, I'm exhausted, everyone. I'm so sick of being yelled at by my constituents about trash and towing. And then for the 2nd month in a row, possibly the 3rd in some places, no street pickup. There's leaves everywhere. I got out of my car yesterday. My kids were at the front door and I had a neighbor screaming at me about leaf pickup and street cleaning. And I just can't get answers from anyone. I'm just wondering what's going on. I'm just kind of beside myself at this point.
Thank you for bringing those concerns up. So cars being towed, I think I pretty much talked about where we are as far as cars being towed or picked up. Refuse pickup, we are working 7 days a week to figure out how we can get all of the solid waste and recycling picked up. And we have said to the foreman, and we had a meeting just 2 days ago, because someone sent me, I was out last week for a funeral, but someone sent me a news story about contaminating or someone's doorbell ring or something like that, that they saw a truck picking up the recycle and putting it into a regular refuse pickup or solid waste. So we are trying to figure out how is that happening. The foreman is the one that should be going out saying, okay, this trash is contaminated. You can pick that up with the solid waste, because we're looking at how we're getting charged when we get to the transfer station and our MRF is not accepting our recycled material because it is so contaminated. Right now, we're over 50% contaminated across the city of St. Louis. So where we may have 1 or 2 streets or 1 or 2 cans that is good, someone that recycles and doing their part, but then the 3rd or 4th can is contaminated and it's causing the whole load to be contaminated. And we're paying recycle costs as well as additional costs to have those transferred when the MRF or the transfer station will not accept the material. We're having to pay to take that to the landfill.
Okay, could somebody mute?
So that is why we have said, we've given the foreman the authority to say at the curb, if you're seeing that this is contaminated material, then it can go ahead and be combined with the solid waste. I look in my own alley. When I walk down my alley and I'm looking in the cans, I probably shouldn't be, but I am, because I want to know what's in them. And I'm seeing the contamination. And it's like people say, my neighbors say that they recycle, they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's the other people that are using our cans as well that we're having issues with, that are contaminating. At no given time should I have a driver that is just, he has the authority to say this is contaminated without a foreman's approval. Now, it is important that we know I do have foremen that are driving trucks as well. And in that case, that driver can make that decision. So it would seem as if, oh, here's a driver, mixing this with the solid waste. And so in that case, yes. So in some places, we do have drivers that are foremen that are out driving as well. It's my hope that we can change that. Like I said, we just had a meeting 2 days ago because someone brought it to our attention that this was happening, and figuring out how can we solve, change that. But I will say our contamination rate, most of our mix and our recycling that we're sending to the MRF is being rejected because it is highly contaminated. And it's not because we're contaminating it. No, anything you see us put into with the solid waste, it's going to solid waste. This is the material that comes in on the recycle trucks. Nothing but recycle has been picked up with this mix, and it is 50+% contaminated with every load that we're sending to the MRF. And in most cases, they're rejecting our mixes. And so then I have to pay a transfer cost for them to take it from there to the landfills at that point. So it's more to it than just what we're seeing right here on the front end, but we're trying to figure with education, how do we correct some of these behaviors? And then for the leaf pickup, so the leaf crew is your paving crew. And the ones that are still out paving are the ones that are assigned to do leaf pickup. So as soon as they're done with their paving, as much as we can get in for the rest of this season, you will see a change in the leaf pickup service.
Okay, I just find that absolutely inappropriate. I mean, if that was going to be the case, then that should have been communicated to aldermen months and months ago. And again, I guess I'm at this point, I'm begging Director Cross, I'm begging you, I'm begging the mayor herself. We have got to have better communication with your office, proactive communication, transparency, what's going on, because I'm sure you get, you know, talked down to by some people, but we are on the front lines of this, and I'm just sick and tired of it. And I don't have any answers. And then I try and get answers, and then I wait 2 or 3 months to get one, and then I have to talk to you on a call like this. Like, it just shouldn't be like this. And so what am I supposed to tell my constituents who have leaves all stuck in the gutters, in the streets? I don't understand what's going on or why we didn't know this. I'm just floored.
I do apologize. You're not the only one. I can emails, phone calls, I get them as well. People yelling at me, cussing at me, calling me everything but what I am. I deal with it every day, just as you do, not understanding why we're in the place that we are. But until we can get more people in here, we're doing the best we can. When I say literally, these employees are working 7 days a week. Some of them 10 to 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Holidays they're working, trying to make sure that these city services are done. You're looking at a TO of almost 500 people in the streets department as a whole, which consists of 4 divisions. You're looking at maybe 300 to 350 employees trying to do all of these services of what a TO of 500 people would have been able to support.
I appreciate that, but the fact of the matter is, we should be able to know what's happening so that we can communicate to residents that there is an issue with staffing. I'm a huge proponent of city workers. I know they're overworked and underpaid, but if we don't know what's going on, then we can't communicate that to our residents. It's just this.
So I do believe that we've had the discussion several times about the staffing challenges of the streets department, the city as a whole, the staffing issues that we're having. If it's something more transparent that you want than that, then please let me know and I will give that to you. But we have been perfectly upfront about our staffing issues that we've had, especially since I've been here. I know we have. Nancy can tell you, I talk to her about 500 and 350 all the time. And we're tiring out these employees that are working 7 days a week trying to get these city services done. We've started looking at small contractors, you know, and then you have your face with, well, you have employees here that are doing this work, and then they're wanting to know, why are we bringing in contractors to do some of this work? We have a service that we have to get done. And so that's—
But you're not getting it done. That's the issue. You're not getting the service done.
We're getting it done to the best of our ability.
Okay, well, I guess maybe my suggestion is pick one thing and do it well, and let's put everything else to the side and let our constituents know that we'll revisit it once we have, you know, a workforce that can take on that work. I don't have anything further. Thanks so much, Madam Chairwoman. Thanks, Director Williams.
Thank you.
So I want to say, Director Williams, this whole, pretty much all of our street committee told you months and months ago Stop doing recycling, have recycling, don't do alley recycling, or it's not working, have it at the firehouses or other places, because that will free up more of your workers to pick up trash. So if you guys are still doing recycling, it's to me because you're tone deaf. So I agree with the Alderwoman from the 6th. Pick the trash up. And I told you I'm a recycler, and I can show you my little blue bin because I used to pay for it myself before the city decided that we were going to do alley recycling. It doesn't work. When you say it's over 50% contaminated, that right there is a hint. Right now, we can't do recycling. And I'm glad Nancy Cross is on here so she could take it back to the mayor. Mayor doesn't have to want to hear it. I know that there were people that complained and said, I want my recycling back, but we can't do recycling and pick up trash right now, okay? And we got bulk trash, that is another thing, and that's making our alleys filthy. So the easiest thing we can do is, because I'm a recycler, if you tell me I gotta go to around the corner on Natural Bridge, that's what I'm gonna do, okay? And the other people are not gonna do recycling. They're gonna continue to contaminate your bins. And so it would be better to just use them for trash bins right now so we could clean up our alleys. There are alleys that are dirty now that I have never seen them have anything. They were spick and span and were immaculate, and it's really frustrating to people. So I will say again, stop the alley and stop the pickup of recycling. We can all explain to people why that does not work, okay? And that we will come back as soon as we can. But right now we have to do bulk and we have to do trash, and to some extent yard waste, okay? So, and again, I will say now what we decided with Mr. Flake and Mr. Bradley is that we're gonna have them here monthly. So maybe that's what we're gonna do with you guys, because we do need communications. You could just send us out a memo. Hey, this is going on, and send it to all the aldermen or something. But that it is hard when you tell your constituents one thing and it does not happen. Okay. And you look like a big liar. And I've been trying to get curbs since I came back here in 2013. This is almost 2023. I got over probably $1 million of curbs waiting to get done. And so it's very frustrating for paving, for trash, for bulk, for all of these things. And it's not your fault we don't have enough people, but the Alderwoman from the 6 is right. Pick something and do it well. And the thing that is the most harmful right now to me is not picking up the trash. And that is going to be a health hazard. And so that can add a few more people. I don't know how many people you got on doing alley recycling, but that needs to have stopped a long time ago. Alderwoman, you say you had 6, nothing else for you?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, Alderwoman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Director Bethany Williams, for sitting in today. We appreciate all the information that you're giving us so that we can relay these back to our constituents. My question, I'm going to revert back to the paving issue. And I know you said that because of the weather, probably no paving will be done until it gets warmer and in the spring. Am I right about that? Okay.
Yes.
And because another thing, you said that in dealing with the paving issue, that you would start from the top to the bottom. What does that look like? I mean, how do you know where your streets are in accordance to your list? And how do we get that listing, or can we get that listing?
So Kent keeps a list of, once funds have been transferred for streets to be paved, those streets are just added to the master list of streets that need to be paved. And so they're added at the bottom of the list, and then they work from the first last, I guess you'll call it, funds that were transferred down that list from the oldest to the current is what it goes by. I will get with Kent to see if that list can be shared, or if he can make some type of version of it that's shareable. I'm not sure that once you all transfer funds, what's the level of communication to say you'll be getting your streets paved in 2 weeks
Right.
or what? I don't know that communication, but I will ask him to see what is that. But I do know that once we get word from the Board of Public Service that the funds have been transferred over to the Streets Department, then they're added to the list for paving.
Okay, and once our funds have been transferred over,
Mhm.
how are we updated on as to when the streets will be paved?
And so that's a communication piece. I know that they normally put up signs to say, we'll be paving this street in the next week or so, move your vehicles type, or move the trash cans. Outside of that, I'm not sure that there's any other communications that's done. But I do know that they go out and they hang signs that say we'll be paving here within the next week or 14 days,
Yeah.
I think it is. And then that's the notification that you're coming up, because the miller will be coming through before the paver will come through.
Okay, and one more question. I don't know if you can answer this. I know we had agreed for main corridor street pavings, but I also submitted streets to be paved, residential streets to be paved. Or is there a running list of the active residential streets that will be paved, or that's just pushed over to the side and we're only focusing on corridor?
So the
corridor
list,
street.
oh, sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I had finished. Mhm.
Okay, so the list that we have is just a running list of residential streets, arterial streets, secondary streets. The only way that arterial streets will be bumped up on the list is if it's a safety hazard, or, we have to, major sinkhole or something like that, that we're bumping it up on the list, that it becomes a priority because of safety that it's done. Other than that, so for right now, if you look at Board Bill 184, where we outline five arterial routes that we will be paving. So any paving on those routes has been pushed until we know we're going to implement it with Board Bill 184. So in those cases, everything else will kind of move up if it was something above it on the list of priorities of how we're paving. But it's from it's from the oldest to the current is how the list goes. And they just work from when the funds were transferred down the list to the most current.
Okay, one more question, and then I'm gonna relinquish, I guess you could say, my mic. But when you do street cleaning and vehicles do not address the signs that's telling them where they should and shouldn't park on the street cleaning days, do you guys still send people out to give them tickets, or does that happen? Or only if they're notified that people are not moving?
So no, I think the signs that are posted says that you're supposed to move on whatever day, whatever hours that it's scheduled to do the street sweeping during that time. I do know that the Treasurer's Office has officers that will come out when we're not, when trucks or vehicles are in the way of where it's scheduled and posted that vehicles should not be parked. they should be moving those vehicles out of the way. I have got a couple calls from residents that said, hey, you didn't come on the day you were supposed to come. You came the next day and I got a ticket for my car. So those are issues that I'm working with the treasurer's office to figure out, how do we change that? Or that, you know, let's not ticket if we know we're behind in our service that we're providing. If we're not coming to Wednesday and we were supposed to be there on Tuesday and you ticket me on Wednesday, then you're violating the posting that's there. So,
Right, there's no way that people would know that.
yeah, you wouldn't
this is
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think because probably technically, you will wait till the next week. You know, it just wouldn't, the sweeper wouldn't come back around a day later. But the fact that we're just trying to catch up to the date where we're supposed to be, we're working on off schedules. So we are working to figure out how do they stop ticketing during this time. But currently they are still ticketing if you're parked and the sweeper is there on the date that is posted.
Okay, but what I really wanted an answer to was, on the day that the streets are supposed to be clean and you have cars that have not moved, do they send someone out automatically to patrol and see if these streets are clear for them to clean the streets and then offer tickets? Or do they only send someone out when someone calls and complains that vehicles have not moved?
So it's a sign that's posted there to say, do not park this date, this hour. So if the street sweeper pulls up anytime between that time, that's the advance warning that we give to the residents that your car should be moved during this time hour that's posted for your scheduled street sweeping time. So that's the only advance warning that people are giving.
Right, I understand that. What I'm saying is, how do you ticket those that are still parked when the streets, it's the day of cleaning and they are within that time limit?
So that's the treasurer's office has a department that they go out and they ticket those cars that are there in violation of the posting. We don't do that. We don't ticket, or we don't, move cars for street sweeping. It goes by what's posted on the sign.
Right. So what I'm trying, I don't know, maybe I'm going at this the wrong way. What I'm trying to get an answer to is,
Can I answer a little bit, Alderwoman?
go ahead.
Okay, so it used to be we got street cleaning twice because and then Francis Slay stopped that and went to one. And it used to be the police would drive up and down the streets where the street cleaning was and they would give tickets. Okay.
Right.
Now what happens is that if enough people on the street complain about cars are parking illegally, then they will come out from the treasurer's office of parking and they will ticket. A lot of times they don't just drive up and down the street the way the police used to do.
Okay.
But they will if they get enough notice. Now, I want to make sure I heard correctly, Director Williams. So they do not give people tickets except if they are parked contrary to the posting. They will, like if the street department comes, it's supposed to be cleaning on a Tuesday, but you come on a Wednesday and a car is parked there, they don't get a ticket. Is that correct?
They shouldn't get a ticket. That's
Okay.
the conversation that
Right.
I'm trying to have with
right.
the treasurer's office now. Yeah.
It's an illegal ticket because it's contrary to posting.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They
All right.
should not be getting tickets in those cases. And so that's a conversation that I'm having with the treasurer's office now to figure out how do we go around that. I have a resident sent me his ticket and was
There's
like,
no ways to go around it. I'll talk to Shirley today. You cannot give tickets except for where the posting. That's what gives you the right to give the ticket. So
Right.
anything else they're doing is illegal.
right.
Okay, I'll talk with Shirley today about that. I didn't know people got tickets then. I'm sorry, Alderwoman from the 4th. Did I answer
That's
your
okay.
question?
No. Hey, any way I can get the answer to my questions, I'm good with that.
So what people should
Okay.
do if they're having people parking is they should start calling in and letting citizen service know that, hey, we got these people over here, which goes to the treasurer's office. And then they will start to come and drive those streets. But we used to have the police on those days. They used to drive up and down the streets. That was the way you knew you would see the police at least twice a month, because on those 2 days that they did street cleaning, the police came and gave tickets. You just don't have that anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman from the 14th, Alderwoman Howard.
Good afternoon. You know, this is kind of the same old song. We can't deliver the services. We can't get the streets paved. We can't get the trash picked up. We can't get the bulk picked up. We can't get the holes filled. What is being done to address this? I mean, this just seems like we have a new director of personnel. I am so embarrassed. I feel along with the alderwoman from the 6th, and I'm sure the alderman from the 24th. It's hard to face our constituents. They're out here paying taxes. We haven't given them a refund. They only get trash once in a while. I have mattresses piled up in alleys. And what are we doing to hire people to address this shortage? Is there anything strategically being done to address this? I am so tired of trying to tell people, you know, we just have a staffing shortage. And I mean, the city's going to hell in a handbasket in many ways. What are we doing to address this shortage of labor?
So I'm going to let Nancy Cross answer that, because that's a personnel's out of my jurisdiction.
I understand, but I mean, this is the big picture. You know,
Right.
we're out there, we're the face of the city, and we've got to look at these people. And it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing when we go through. We can't get the trash picked up. The leaves don't get swept. You know, it's one thing after the other. And, you know, for sale signs right and left, who wants to live like this? Unless they're in an elite area where they have that all done for them and they're paying extra taxes, is that what we want? We want to convert the city to an elitist organization where only those people that can afford to pay extra for police, trash pickup, and all of the services that the city is supposed to render with tax dollars. It's not getting done. Wake up, people. What can we do to address this? What's being done?
Alderwoman, do you want Director of Operations Cross to answer at the same time, or do you want to wait?
yes.
It's your choice.
Well, you're directing the meeting, Madam Chair, and
No, I'll let her go ahead and answer your question.
Okay.
Director Williams said she'd let her answer.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So we have had a number of job fairs and working with Slate to bring people on for a lot of the activity. The issues that you're all having involve having people to have CDL licenses. And so we've been even hiring people without CDL licenses, putting them through the training. And then after they've gotten them, some people have left right away for a private industry where they can make more money. We've been struggling trying to get the union that represents the refuse workers to the bargaining table to help us move the wages up and get more money for the workers, because that's what we're waiting on. As this morning, we were called again and told that the person that negotiates their contracts isn't available. So we are reaching out to Washington, D.C. to get somebody in here, because we don't want to violate the laws and give people increases without going through their union. On the paving and street sweeping, we have those crews do the same work. So if they're not paving, they're street sweeping. So it's double work because we don't have the number of people that we want to have. We have tried to hire people as per performer, which means they don't have to live in the city, but that also means that they're not permanent employees and they'll work when they can. We submitted a list of, through Slate, of 150 or so people to personnel before the new director was hired. And out of that list, personnel knocked everyone off, but between 20 and 35 people. some of those people came in, and we are taking people and giving them a chance, because once people get hired, they have a probationary period they have to serve anyway. So what we're trying to do, and we hope we'll be more successful, Director Moten was doing some of this, and Director Gray, I think, will as well, which is, if you're going to have people on probation anyway, why can't we give them a chance? Because we don't need as many drivers for the bulk pickup, but right now we have 4 crews, 2 working in North City, 2 working in South City, most of them working 6 or 7 days a week to pick up the bulk. We've also had, as in an effort to try and figure out what to do with shortage of staff, we've looked at bringing in contractors to help us with some of this work. It's a long process. We have not been successful in finding smaller companies that could come in and take a section of the work and help us. And we've gone through a lot of different things. I think one of the problems was during the last administration, it was the heavy duty COVID pandemic, and they agreed that they would only hire essential personnel. The problem with the previous people in our positions is that they did not look at
Hello?
service industry
You in the
people
meeting?
as.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, but I'm on mute. What's
No,
going
you're
on?
not on mute. Alderwoman Evans, you're not
Oh.
muted. Please mute Alderwoman Evans. Thank you.
That they didn't replace people who left during the pandemic. So when we started to come out of it, we have less staff. We believe we need at least 65 drivers to have the 55 routes taken care of with refuse, and have 10 extra drivers so that if people are off on family medical leave or vacation or some kind of leave, we will still be able to pick up all the routes. At the same time, we probably need 30 or 40 more people in the streets work that could help do the paving and the street sweepers. On top of that, a lot of the equipment was hurt, and Director Williams is better on what equipment, but we lost some of the equipment during the flood which was kept at 1900 Hampton. So we are in that, we are doing as much as we can to try and, excuse me, make the application easier for people. Slate helps fill out, excuse me for a second. Sorry, Slate helped fill out the application for people. That's how we had the many 150, 155 that went in, and we're continuing to do those job fairs to get people in. We also think now with the change in some of the rules around drug testing, that it may give us an opportunity, but under the federal transportation laws, we have to test for drugs, and we have to follow their regulations as well. But Alderman Howard, we are doing everything we can to get more people on staff. As Director Williams said, we even have foremen sometimes driving trucks in order to try and help fill in the holes that we have. These are not the only 2 or 3 departments where we have this problem. We also have a high shortage in the parks, forestry, and recreation departments as well. So we've got a plan to get people, but it's getting people in, and we need to figure out how we hold people once we get them their CDL licenses. What can we do to not let them just use us to get a license and then go somewhere else after that? And we're hoping that the pay can help with some of that.
And we know our salaries aren't competitive.
We know that. We also know that we had some people on staff in the streets department who, when we had you all were I think we came and talked to you 6 months ago or so about the incentive that last year, the incentive we put in place. Only 1 or 2 people miraculously made it through that process. So we've made some severe staffing changes in order to deal with how people were being treated on the job and the state, and how people responded as a result, because a lot of people, people aren't going to stay working someplace if they don't think that they're being treated properly, no matter how much you're offering them to pay. And a couple of people let us know that on their way out the door. I'm diving a little close to the borderline of personnel matters, but that's also something we've had to deal with in those departments, that I don't think most of the Board of Alder people were aware of, and unfortunately, we can't give you a lot of details on that. But there's a lot of cultural shifting that has to go on in order to do it. And we are really trying to get the staff to feel like we are going to be here and support them. But right now, we're beginning to have a fight with AFSCME over why can't you get somebody here to just let us move the money. So Director Gray sent a note out today to the AFSCME person and said, can you give us somebody who has the authority to bargain this contract? So hopefully she'll get an answer this afternoon on that.
And I'm happy you recognize that many times our people are not treated very well throughout all areas. And I think that needs to be something that HR can address through some training of supervisors. We have a system that really promotes a lot of
Bad behavior.
bad behavior, I would say, and I plantation mentality, for lack of a better one, and I hope nobody takes offense at that. But it's bad when you get people in someplace and then they're mistreated because they're new and they're not being educated, and then they're called out. So, and I know this happens more than we like to recognize, but it needs to be addressed by how we cultivate supervisors and bring people into the system, and that we don't have this mistreatment going on where people, you can pay people less if you treat them well. And I'm not saying that's right.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that that's right. I mean,
Right.
but if people are treated well, they will stay rather than go someplace else if they feel as though they're being treated well.
Right, and I would also
fair.
say that as the new as the new streets director, the same would apply for how she's been treated throughout the system by some of the long-term staff, and then some of the other people that we deal with from other departments outside of the city, that there have been comments made to me that were pretty atrocious in the beginning, which she's aware of, that I'm not saying anyone on the board, but I'm just saying that she's doing the best that she can, but we're also trying to change a culture of people, some of whom you all have worked with over the years, who are doing the same business as they had before she came, but she's being held to a higher standard because we brought somebody in that has the skills to do what she needs to do, but we still are dealing with people trying to go around the system or making promises to all of you that they've never been able to keep. And we've asked them to stop doing that because it's not fair to say, I can get to Alderwoman Howard's today, but I'm going to leave Alderman Vaccaro's stuff behind. But Alderman Vaccaro's stuff was higher on the to-do list from CSB, which is one of our big issues. We're trying to force the staff to follow CSB so that everybody's claims get heard around the state, around the city in the way that they were submitted, not who knows somebody and can skip over the lines. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the only way it's going to be fair. And the staff also needs to know the I call them rank and file staff, that we support them. I know many of you have gone for rides with the refuse drivers, and I think they have found that to be inspiring, I guess would be the word, that you've taken an interest in going around to see exactly what they do. And I know they're open to doing that as long as they're not a brand new driver, because we don't want any accidents. But there are long-term people that have felt really good about the fact that an alderperson wanted to take a ride with them. And not everybody can do that because of lifestyles and everything else, but those have been well received by the staff. So, and there's other departments that would like to do that as well. So.
And I think even if you can't do that as an older person, if you see these people working, it's nice to introduce yourself and tell them what a good job they're doing. I make a point of doing that. And it's very well received. So, and I'm not recommending, but just saying. So, but thank you so much. And hopefully we can get some people, because it's so frustrating for us to have to deal with telling people, we'll get to it. It's like the sign in the tavern, free beer tomorrow. And it never comes. So. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Williams, I have a question for you, and I don't want to forget it. You said that a foreman has to okay commingling. So if somebody who's driving a truck and they go down the alley and they look, and how do they determine that they need to call a foreman to decide if they need to have somebody come out? And then how does that whole process work, please?
So the foreman is one or two things. One, he's always on call while the drivers he's responsible for are doing their routes, but he's also to like monitor or evaluate the day before or hours before the truck is coming down this alley to do the cleanup work in that alley. So that is when he can say dumpster 7 in front of whatever address is contaminated. I can see it coming out the top. You know, that's how he's able to make those calls and inform that driver that that load has been contaminated.
So he goes before, not after, to hold up the driver. So he's driving through the alleys.
Yes.
check, right.
So we have foremen that are actively going out into the alleys. They're there to assist the drivers. Say like some of our alleys are really tight. They're there to assist them to get through the alley, but they're also going out ahead of, like, maybe before you get to this block, that driver, the foreman may be riding through these routes so that he can determine what's the condition of the material that's in the route.
So when I hear you say that, is that same foreman doing that for bulk? Because for years, and since I even came back with 13, I got about 1 million pictures of bulk items that were in alleys weeks on weeks and months on months. And so I never understood how the foreman would drive through an alley, and it is not, I don't look for the trash truck driver, but why that wouldn't be reported and why they would have to say, oh, the people in the alley need to call. Now, people in my alley call. So when I was off the board, I got as good a service as I do now because they knew Auto Wellman Tires, because that's what they still said, lives on that alley. But how is it that it happens that we can let just so much trash and bulk build up and nobody does anything about it? It would seem like to me that same foreman would turn it in and say, we need to get a truck out here and get that up.
So our bulk is on a weekly basis. So right now, I think I just responded this morning to an email. We're currently in week 3 of bulk pickup, and it's 25 routes within that. So you have a foreman that's driving those routes to identify what needs to be picked up, where all the bulk is, so that we make sure that we get it all done when the truck comes down that route to pick up the whatever the bulk is that's out there, mattresses, whatever it is. So it's not something that's happening weeks in advance. It's something that's happening while they're working in the moment. So right now they're on route 2 of 25 that's in week 3. And so that foreman is evaluating what's on route 2 so he can make sure that the drivers are picking all of that up.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't happen. I mean, and what I used to do when I first got elected, I would follow trash trucks. And they soon found that out when I'm trying to say Gary Best was the director of, Jim Sulman. So I would follow the trash trucks and no cell phones. So then I'd have to write down their numbers. And then I would come back in and call these trash trucks in because they would be parking and not doing what they're supposed to do. But I also, soon as, later on, when we got cameras, and then we got cell phones with cameras. And then since I've been back in 13, my iPad is full of them. And so they don't pick them up that week or the next week or the next week. And so it gets bigger and bigger. And I have never understood, if a foreman is supposed to be driving through that alley, why they didn't report. Because people get mad and say to me, well, how come the trash truck driver doesn't report? And so I always take up for them and say, well, look, they're trying to get the trash picked up in the most expedient process they can so that they can get everybody's trash picked up. But if those foremen have been driving through there, and I can send you real easy 10 complaints I've had in the last few days before they didn't pick up trash. Now I talked to Randy, and I know you don't have a full crew on bulk either, but it would seem like there should nothing should be in the alley for a second or a third month. I don't see why that happens. And I can you could drive through the 4th ward of alleys and you would just, you would run away. Okay. So how does that happen?
So like I said, the foreman is going out like an hour before the route is started. So it's not like he's going out a week, 2 weeks
I understand.
before. So if I'm on Route 2, my foreman is coming down right in the streets that are in this route, probably we've started picking up at, say, this block behind at the 4500 block, we're picking up. And as we're picking up, this foreman is ahead of us saying, these are all the items that needs to be picked up. These are all the service requests that we've got, the CSBs that we've gotten, that make sure we get all of this stuff picked up. More items have been added behind 4256. More items have been added, or the items have been removed behind 5200, whatever it is. That's how it's almost in tandem with the route that's going.
But
It's
you're not hearing me.
anything
I'm not
before.
saying that immediate stuff. I'm saying that let's say today is December 14th.
Mhm.
On December the 7th, there, and the week before that, there was trash. It's not picked up on the week before. It's not picked up on December the 7th. It's not picked up on December the 14th. I don't understand, because that trash has been there for 2 or 3 weeks and nobody's picking it up. So at some point, the foreman, if he's driving through that, he should have seen this. Let's see, let me use the correct dates so I can say. So he should have saw, if he drove through on November 30th, that trash was there. Nobody picked it up. On December the 7th, a week later, that trash is still there. It's bigger. Nobody's picked it up. Today, it'll get bigger. Nobody picked it up. And that's all over North St. Louis. And I don't understand how that happens if we have foremen. I've always advocated getting rid of foremen because I didn't understand what they did and how it could go 2 and 3 and 4 weeks and nobody picked up the trash in the alley or the dumping or the bulk without calling all the people to get it done.
So we have a schedule every week, a different area is assigned to be picked up. And so in that week that area is, let me back up. So first and foremost, we're like 2 to 3 weeks behind
Okay.
on picking up bulk pickup. That's just clear fact. Right now, we're in week 3 and route 1. So that means week 3 should have been picked up. This is week 3 probably from last month that we're picking up. So not week 3, meaning that like you look at your county like, oh, well, we're in week 3, so we're on schedule. No, this is week 3 from last month that we're picking up currently now. So what we're doing is just trying to, that foreman is working with that crew at the time that they're out picking up. I hear what you're saying.
And I hear what you're saying.
That's not what we're providing. I
What
wish
you're
we
saying
could
is
provide
that if they didn't get that trash on the 30th, that he's on another route. And so they're not picking it up. They didn't pick it up on the 30th. They're going to let it go to 7th or 14th until they come back around. So that's going to build up a lot of trash is what I'm saying.
So
that's making for very dirty alleys.
Right. But, and then that's when we go back to the number of drivers that we have and the number of crews that we have. Where before we had multiple crews that picked up in multiple areas per day. That's not what we currently have now. And so I see what you're saying. And yes, that's where we want to get to that place. And it should never be where a foreman is driving and he's being proactive and he knows what's here and then he can send a truck there. We just don't have that, the crews that we have the ability to do that.
But so what we're doing though, this is why it's frustrating and irritating to the residents because they expected on the 30th for that to be picked up. So you're going to go, you don't have it on the 7th, the 14th, you may not pick it up to the 21st or the 28th. That makes for large amounts of trash because once people see, oh, that alley is dirty or doesn't get the trash picked up, they add more and more and more. And I am fastidious about it. My husband, we go out there and if somebody, they just dump at the mouth of our alley. We're right at Kings Highway. We're out there running as soon as we can to get it picked up and put in the trash because I don't want people to think that's okay. Put something else here. Okay. So the alleys that are clean, stay clean pretty much. But if you let that build up in alleys, then that's very frustrating to a lot of seniors, a lot of people who pay their taxes. They're feeling the crunch of, hey, you tell me bulk is picked up every week. But if you miss me on the day I'm supposed to, and he may have turned it in and the driver missed it or whatever, then you may not come back for 2 or 3 weeks. That is too hard. And that is again, back to why I am to stop. I'm gonna write the mayor another letter. Stop. We need all hands on deck picking up trash and bulk. That's what we need. We need all hands. And so my question will also be, so I understand that you have to have somebody who has what do you call it? What is it called? The professional driver's license to drive.
CDL.
Yes, so that's to drive the bulk truck also, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but the people
Madam
who-
Chair, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I have to,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, do you,
chairing
wait,
2
okay,
meetings now. I'm into it.
I know. Do
I'm
you
chairing
have a
the one.
question? I'll be quiet because I'm supposed to be
No.
over there at your meeting.
Oh, no,
but
I know,
can't.
I know, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. I have to jump off this one. I'm on.
Okay, and I'll come over if I can. I may not make it.
Okay, what's your bill that we're working on?
I know, but I already been told one of the people I want is
Okay.
not.
We can,
Coming,
I can
okay.
hold that. I can,
Okay.
well, I'll see if you come over. I can hold it otherwise. Anyway,
Okay,
I'm gonna jump off just so you know.
okay. So, do we have to have somebody, professional drivers that actually load the stuff up onto the truck for bulk?
No, those are our utility workers.
Okay, and how many utility workers do we have?
We currently have, let me pull up my TV. If you can give me a minute, I'll pull the TO up. and
Okay,
then
okay,
I'll
you don't have to tell me exactly. The whole question, what I want to say, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I think that some of the prior administrations let the numbers go down on purpose. And I'm much more for keeping city services within the city and paying people a good wage. But to catch up, couldn't bulk be something that we let other, we contracted out?
So yes, we've looked at that. If that's a service that we can contract out with our bulk service, because it is a different style truck that we utilize and different style, it's kind of like a lift and put into the truck. So we are currently trying to find a contractor that would pick up those services, but it is extremely hard with we're just not seeing this shortage. This is happening across this industry as a whole.
Well, I understood I didn't know that we had to have somebody, because I guess I thought of bulk maybe as being as 2 men in a truck, okay? Somebody was driving the truck and then 2 men, and not to be sexist, or 2 women on the back, and they would be loading the stuff. So I was shocked when I heard we also had to have a professional a driver's license to also drive a bulk truck. So, but even if, that's why I'm saying if we're having a hard time doing that, I'm frustrated. I get, because I'm the chair of streets. So not only do I get the first ward calls, I get the whole city calls a lot of times from people who are like, well, you're the chair of streets, can you get this done? Okay, that's the answer is you haven't been able to hire anybody. All right, I'm sorry. Oh, one other thing. Have you introduced to this date a traffic comment or given something to, because I know the mayor back in September, October was talking about an entire traffic calming kind of program. Has there been anything that's written up formally for the entire city to be under some kind of traffic calming plan?
Nancy can speak to the board, what we've put in ARPA funds, but we have made the request for a citywide
I'm
traffic.
not talking about the ARPA funds because that's passed. So you can't change.
No.
Right, 184. Right.
No.
No, not 184. No, not those.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
looking at, Nancy, this is a new board bill that we're looking at, I'm assuming.
It's the new board bill, and I'm afraid to say the number because I'll get it wrong, but
It's
the
been
board bill
introduced?
in infrastructure that Brandon Bosley introduced on infrastructure has, I think, almost 15 million in that for traffic calming. And they have a lot of studies that they've done over the years through BPS that they're looking at also as a way to make it more.
What did you say, that Board Bill 152?
No, I don't want to say the number because I'll
Okay,
get it
I'll just
wrong.
look for Brandon's bill, Alderman
Right.
Bosley's bill.
He's on the call, maybe, is it like 125? Hold on one second.
That's all right. I'm going through and looking for his bills. I'll find it if it's been introduced. So I see Board Bill 120.
That's probably it.
That's the one.
Yes, it is 120. I just saw a note. Thanks, Alderman Bosley.
Okay, well, okay, I will then look at it because street calming would normally be under streets. So that is very interesting to me that it's sent someplace else, but
And I don't know that it's been sent. I don't know.
yeah, it's been sent. to
All I know
Alderman
is we
Irving.
put the bill together. I missed the last Board of Alder people meeting, but I think it's because it's ARPA funds that it, like,
I
there's a number
understand.
of different things on that, but
I
just one
understand.
point of information, Alderwoman Tyus, what I want to mention is that you all in either Board Bill 184 AA or 82 put a large amount of money in for cameras that are being used, and I.
Wait, no, you cannot run my meeting, but just wait and we'll get back to
I
you.
was asking you
Okay.
with, if I could just answer your question, add something to your bulk concern that might, it doesn't
Yes,
really
I know we
help.
put a lot of
Okay.
money, 1 million and something or whatever money. Okay, go ahead.
So we have that environmental group, union police group has actually already, investigative unit, I guess it's called EIU, has already fined and collected about $155,000 from catching people illegally dumping. It doesn't fix everything right away, but it's a step in the right direction in that if we can catch people illegally dumping, we will prosecute them through the affirmative action department in the city councilor's office. And we get a quarterly report on that, which if you want, we can forward to you on that issue. But that was a good thing. And the cameras are more 21st century where they don't have to be stuck somewhere indefinitely, that they can be moved around where we have problems. And we do not tell people where they are because we don't know who we're telling or who they're going to tell. But that is how we've been able to have the police unit be able to get the information they need to prosecute. So maybe if enough people get prosecuted, people will start to see that I shouldn't be, we're going to have normal residents bulk, but we also have a problem with other people dumping other people's bulk in the city.
Okay, I'm gonna
and
cut you
vote
off
on
there
that.
because
Okay,
I've been
sorry.
dealing with this for 30 years. I understand all what you say. I'm not a camera's okay. It's real easy to go around cameras and I don't want to talk about how you do it. That's why I'm now looking at closing some of my alleys at one end, because every alley that I went to in the city that was closed at one end was immaculate. Okay. Okay, Alderman Bosley, I see your note. So we have people on a couple of committees. Do you have a question before you leave, Alderman Bosley?
Not at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Sweet. Sweet, oh, Alderwoman Peel. I'm looking at Sweet and I said that. I'm crazy now, okay? I've never called you Sweet Tea, but okay, Alderwoman Peel.
Thank you, Chairwoman Tyus, and thank you, Director of Streets Williams and Commissioner Director Cross for being here. This has been really helpful. The two questions I have, and just comments, but everybody has kind of jumped off. So my question for Director Cross is regarding the unions. And you did mention, where is that in the bargain? It seems like there's a little hiccup right now. I know it's not.
It's not a little hiccup, it's a huge hiccup. We've been trying to
Okay.
meet with the ASME union is the only one that has, and there's one other union, but they're not impacted by streets, traffic and refuse. But the AFSME union, we have had very difficult time getting them to the bargaining table to bargain. The language pieces are done. We had given them a proposal, I believe, on the wages. I wasn't at that last meeting, But that was all the way back in mid to early October, and we've been trying to trace them down to get them to the table so that we could we go back and forth on the money and come to an agreement where they could have their membership vote on it, and then we could implement it. And we were not waiting till next session to implement next fiscal year if we could figure out something that would help us gain more people, but we really feel like we have to have them at the table.
And there, I assume, are raises, the salaries are going to be
We're
going
trying
up.
to figure out raises, incentives, and things, other compensation type of things that could help us get more people. The problem is they're not based here, they're based in Iowa.
Yeah, I understand. I've spoken with them. I was just wondering, I hear about the incentives, but what about the raise in salary per hour? Is that part of this bargaining
That's what
negotiations?
we're trying to figure that out with them, but we also want to we were looking to do something across the board so that we don't cause the comprehension that happened, the compression that happened when we just did the 15, when the previous administration, for all the right reasons, raised people to a minimum of 15 an hour, but it compressed everybody that had been here long term. So we're trying to figure out how to accommodate both pieces at this point.
Okay.
So
And I assume you guys know the ball range. I mean, I know you haven't been able to get to the table with the union, but you have a ballpark of how much you'd like to raise per hour at least right now?
I know what I have been running numbers previously with Paul Payne. I don't have a sense from that, and I'm just there as the numbers person. I'm not getting a good sense from the union themselves as to what they think they need, which is unusual in bargaining.
Yes, that is interesting, because I know that me talking to this particular union, that the wages are low and that's why people are leaving. But thank you for that update. Would love to get the next update when you can. I understand. Is there a particular reason you guys know why they're not coming to the table at this point in time?
I've heard a variety of different reasons, but specifically why they can't figure out how to get somebody here anytime soon, I don't know. Director Gray asked the local union rep today if they have the authority to bargain, because if that person does have the authority to bargain on behalf of AFSCME, we will meet with them. But we had been told the authority to bargain was in Iowa previously.
Okay.
And we've done Zoom calls, so it's not like they have to come here.
Okay, great. That is very, very helpful. And then I see Alderman Middlebrook is still on. I just wanted to make a comment, and I understand how in terms of ticketing during street cleaning, and that is through the treasurer's office. I do believe we, Chairwoman Tyus, to speak with the treasurer regarding getting these streets ticketed and getting people out there. I was told that the parking or the treasurer's office actually, makes money, or their budget is off of tickets. So perhaps we could hire some more people to ticket, because it is a problem all over the city. And I call and email the treasurer when I get concerns from residents, but that takes up time on my end and our end. And can we figure out how to streamline this? Because I've seen that without calling myself as an alderperson, even when residents call the treasurer's office, and I know this is a street, we're not with the treasurer's office right now, that it's difficult to get through in terms, as a resident, in terms of getting the parking tickets issued. So, but that's another conversation we could have, Chairwoman Tyus, with the treasurer's office, because I do know that's not the street's responsibility.
And I will say that they probably want you to call the citizens to call Citizen Service Bureau. We call the treasurer's office, but we don't want the citizens to be trying to call the treasurer's office. And then and when you have enough citizens on one street or in a neighborhood saying, hey, they're not moving their cars, then that will activate the treasurer's office to come out there during those days and look at giving tickets, okay? But that still does not resolve the problem that we need more room to tow. I think, right when this new administration came in, we had Kent Flakes and the rest of the people there. And one of the things we talked about, and the people from Streets, Jamie was there, this was before Director Williams. And he told us then that we needed to buy another lot because we were running out of room. And absolutely, we need to build a new facility. If you haven't ever gone out there to towing, I got sick when I went out there and took the tour. So we absolutely need, if I worked in towing, I would put in some kind of complaint through my union about how really bad it is. So we do need to do something. We have that additional problem of some towing concerns, but the health of the people who work there should be of germane and very concerning to us, because it's really not a good place to be out there. Okay. And if we don't, even if we give these tickets, if we don't have a backup to tow, then we're just ticketing people. We need to be able to have someplace else. And I would be supportive of us buying something larger. At one point, there was a lot right down the street. I don't know if that's available anymore. And I guess, so as I was sitting here, and I don't know if this can happen, so we closed the workhouse down or whatever. I don't know, we got additional parking some places over at the workhouse that we could temporarily store cars or something, because if we're gonna just ticket and people know nothing's gonna happen, they're not gonna pay the tickets and the cars are gonna stay in front of the place. So we need to find a solution besides just ticketing.
Yeah, and so just to I'm sorry, can I comment?
Go ahead.
Okay, to comment on that, we are looking at the workhouse, but the thing is the security purpose of it. It's secure with barbed wire and all that, but people that want in, they get in. So you have to have physical people there to man that facility and the main tow lot, and back to that personnel shortage. So that's why I'm trying to identify somewhere that I could just expand what we have. Yes, there used to be a lot, I think across the street or something, that they were looking at before that is currently not available anymore. So we're just trying to find a location still down on Hall Street that we can pick up and move there.
Could we talk to the sheriff's department about maybe them doing secondary out there? Since we own the workhouse, we wouldn't have to be paying extra rent. I'm talking short term. I'm not talking long term. Maybe the sheriff's department could hire, because they were working for parking, but maybe that'll be a little bit, they could do, some other people could do security there. And it's not that far from the tow lot.
It's not, no.
Right, so just a suggestion. Okay, I'm sorry, Alderwoman from the 17th.
Oh, no, thank you very much. That was really great detail. At the current, we did take a tour this year, last year, of the parking,
Right.
The tow lot, and it was very revealing, very interesting place. And, we see the overflow. One question I have, at that tow lot, is there a person 24 hours at that tow lot?
Yes, that tow lot is open 24/7. The front office to retrieve your vehicles is not, but the operations of the tow lot is 24/7.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Appreciate this. Very educational.
Okay, so Director Cross, so Rich Bradley came and told us about 184, which was from last year with Alderman Oldenburg, in which we had a large amount of paving that was not done. And I kind of just want to go back to that and trying to find out, because he said, oh, well, he didn't do it because he was waiting for the mayor's traffic calming bill, which now I want to look and see when that was introduced. Let's see here, board bill. And what I guess my question is why would people hold up the SEC, the streets that were supposed to be paved, Union from Enright to Florissant, Grand from Holly Hills to Hall Street, Kings Highway from Gravois to Florissant, Jefferson from Chippewa to Choteau, Goodfellow, Delmar to Halls Ferry, and then we had traffic calming, curbs, and median and other things. And I have not heard anything from Mr. Bradley, who I've known since I got here. And that's not like him. And so I'm trying to find out if the mayor's office told him not to contract out, or the street department, or who told him to just hold off for, I think this thing got done in April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, you know, so 7 to 8 months. And until we asked the question, not anybody thought to say, not only to the chair of streets, but to any of the other aldermen, hey, we want to hold up on this because the mayor is doing a street calming thing. And why weren't we notified? And did you or anybody else from the mayor's office tell him not to do the paving? And did the street department tell him not to do the paving?
I think there's a misunderstanding as to his testimony last week, because I have it from him. And it's my, whenever it was that he spoke last, Board Bill 184 was passed with these streets that were to be paved. There was also money passed for ADA work to be done, and they made a conscious decision as engineers, which I am not, to combine the ADA, looking at the ADA and looking at the street paving simultaneously. They've hired they've done an RFQ. He told me he was going to send you a copy of the RFQ, which was asking for the consultants that they would need to do the street improvements, traffic calming, and the ADA improvements that he had just selected. So that work is moving forward, but it gets moved forward by them. And I know that you probably already know this, but that you put it in the board bill, but then they have to hire engineers and consultants to actually design and put that together. And that's what's been done. He informed me last week that he was going to send you a copy of the RFQ with the list of all the consultants that they had looked at to do this work. And I'm not sure if you received that from him yet.
No.
Okay,
But I
that was
will
on
tell you-
December 7th.
Right. I
He
understand.
told me he was gonna send it, and he asked if he could, and I wrote back in an email to him, in a text to him, yes, you need to give that to her. So I will check in with him and find out why that wasn't done, because that's 7 days ago. And it's not a list that has to be prepared, it's a list that exists.
So
they have
here's what I
done
want
that
you
work.
to know. Here's what I want you to know. When I was the 24th alderwoman, I paved every street in the ward but 7, okay? Which is mostly 2/3 of my ward that they call the 1st ward, and 3/4 of the ward that they're gonna call the 12th ward. So whenever they paved streets, well, let me tell you what they did. They didn't do new curbs, but they did ADA, okay? They did them. So I had all of my streets with ADA done except for 7 when they gerrymandered me. Okay, so, and I said this to Rich, if you go back and look and said, well, I don't understand what happened differently, because they did that in connection with you paving your streets. So when you paved your streets, they also did your curbs. If you could come out here now, you will see all my curbs have been done, because they got done in the late 90s and early 2000s, because I paved a lot of streets. So I don't get, okay, we sit here, I hear what you're saying, they made a decision. Did they make a decision to keep their mouth zipped and not tell anybody?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they told or they didn't tell people. They just go and do their work. And I meet with him almost weekly, so I know what's happening. But I don't know that people thought that they should meet. That's not a good answer. If you're requesting to know more information, when we were doing this earlier, the engineers spoke about how they have to do design before they can just do stuff. And we thought that people would appreciate more. In conversations that I've had with his staff and him, is that.
And so you're
if
giving me
we-
an answer that does not answer, because Rich Bradley and I have been working together before we knew there was a Nancy Cross, okay? So we know how we've been doing things. He knows it. He can tell you that because that's what you're trying to say. That is not how it's been done. I can bring other people, other aldermen. And so, yes, you always, this thing about, can I release? So first of all, aldermen get to have anything that you get to have. I actually got elected. So I've been on Rich on many occasions about, because he's being political now, and I know very well what he's doing. Anything that you can see, or the mayor can see, or the comptroller can see, we, the members of the Board of Aldermen, and the charter is very clear about that. So conversation is never a mistake where you just decide, this is what I'm gonna do. And you know that people are calling you, because it wasn't just people, because we actually queried all the members on this committee, and they were calling and asking about this money, and nobody said, oh, we're holding this up. That is always a mistake. conversation and information. If you guys didn't hear anything, what the alderman said is they're very irritated with this administration about lack of communication, okay? And it wasn't just Sharon Tyus, it was the 6th Ward, the 24th Ward. If Pam Boyd had been on here, she would have told you that. It's a lot of older people that feel like that you don't communicate. So if you decide we're gonna do this different, because that's not how we've done it, and Rich knows we haven't done it that way because I've been working with him for all these years. So if you're doing something different and you say, well, hey, we're going to do this something different, then that needs to be a communication, because we're of the expectation we put this money here. And so this is going to happen pretty soon because I've worked with him before. You change how you're doing something, I expect for you to tell me, well, we're going to do it a different way. And it's going to take a longer time because it looks like what they've been doing, which is sitting on stuff. I've had stuff that I've tried to get done curbing since 2013. I'm getting ready to bring Dave Newberg up in here because he keeps saying that I had to change and pay more money to do curbing because the law requires that that be done. I called MoDOT, Illinois and Missouri. They said, no, you don't. I called the federal government. No, you don't. But I got all this money sitting up here, about $1 million and some dollars, because I can't get my curbs done because they try to get extra money from us. They did the same thing with speed humps. So when everybody started doing speed humps, which is why I wrote the bill, which I'm getting ready to write another one, they then said, oh, you have to pay $750 per study. Huh? Where did that come from? So you don't know them like I know them, okay? What I'm telling you, we have not paid those $750. You can talk to Dan Gunther, who had asked for 30 or so speed humps, and they told him no, he would have spent $20,000 for nothing and got a no. So a lot of times they come up with these things, they decide, ever since we got that money in 1994, I'm the only person here that's still here, was here when we did it. They have made up things to try to get money from the aldermen because they decided we had too much money. This was not the stuff we paid for. I actually have all the data from back from 1994 going forth, except for a few years, which I'm getting. So that is not how we did it. I would turn in my streets. Streets pavement got done almost immediately. Within the next year, they would have it done. They would tell you how much of it cost for curb cuts and things, and it was done. So now all of a sudden, 5 months, you don't hear anything. If there was any kind of holdup, we would hear from either Jim Suman or we would hear from BPS, and it wasn't Rich when I first came here, but he became it later. Or we would hear from Suman had several liaisons, and we would hear, look, this is going on, this is going on. The same thing Brett told you, I'm sorry, Alderman from the 24th told you, is that it is always the best policy to say, this is what we're doing, or this is what we want to do, because some things were shovel ready. Alderwoman Pam Boyd's whole entire project was already shovel ready. When I got that money and put it over there, there was no reason to hold her stuff up. It's like you guys, the administration is purposely doing stuff, and Rich is going to try to cover for you. The problem is that I got all kind of board bills and proof of how it was done. Because as I said to you before, I did everything but 7 streets I paved in my whole ward. I put new curb from Natural Bridge up to Martin Luther King, up and down Euclid. I know how this thing has worked, and is not working now like that. But even if you have to do this or you decide to do it a different way, there is no excuse for lack of communication.
Are you asking me to respond?
You can respond. I'm making a
So
statement.
I don't
Because what you're
know.
saying is that they made an educated decision. That still doesn't explain. And I asked him why, and he stuttered. Why didn't you let us know? Other aldermen asked him that same thing. Why would you make this decision? And we're expecting paving season is going right by us, and nobody's saying, hey, we're doing this. And I just wanted you to know, nobody.
And you would, okay, I cannot answer the question that you're asking. I will talk to Rich Bradley and find out, since he reports to me, what exactly the communication was that he gave before this administration. But I've been working with him. I know I don't have as many years of service as you, but at the same time, I'm relying on the engineers that we should not pave, then come back and do curbs and rip the streets back up. So our goal was to try and do it all together. I cannot look at my email while I'm on this call,
I don't need you
but I
to do
believe
it.
we had
Agree with you.
conversations with Alderwoman Boyd about the Goodfellow and the other area that she's looking to have done, and updated her on what was happening in that area, but I will check my notes to see if that actually happened. I thought there was someone who had had a conversation with her about those, but she's not here right now. But we,
Well, I know that what happened is that last week she had not, and I don't disagree that curbing should not, I agree with that whole assessment of let's do curbs. I actually also don't want, I haven't done a lot of paving because I've been requesting a lot of demolition. And I think it's crazy when you demolish buildings after you have paved the street, and then you have to go back and, so I'm not opposed to that. I'm opposed to just what I said. Nobody took the time to say, well, this is the decision we're going to make. So again, we have to go back. You might be working in the mayor's office and no, you don't have nearly the service I have. And you haven't worked with streets, and I've worked with Rich and I know him really well and what he's doing. Okay. And all it took was, hey, let me just give you a little report. You could have given it through, we each have a liaison. Our liaison could have said, we've been instructed to tell you that this is what they're working on. Some people may have said, I don't want it to be like that. I want my streets paved right now, at least this little portion. I know I'm gonna have curbs, but I got a part of Union that I can't hardly wait for curbs because it's tearing people's cars up and I'm getting my rear end kicked. And people are upset and they're losing their hubcaps. And so sometimes you don't have to do the whole street, and sometimes you just mill. And you may not know this, but Kent Flake goes out and mills. I have several people living in my ward who work in the street department. So over the years, they have been able to update me of the little tricks of the trade. So in many places, and I also happen to have lived in South St. Louis for 7 years, Central Quarter for 3 or 4, and North St. Louis. So I've had the pleasure of living in all parts of the city and see how services are rendered and what's not rendered. And so just the offer of, hey, Alderwoman, hey, Alderman, this is what we're working on. So do you think this is a good idea? You might get all the people saying yes, but you might get somebody who says, this is a reason why we need this portion done now. But we don't know you're not doing that if you do not give us any information about that this has been a decision. No, I do not think that engineers should just make a decision without talking to people. Just like I don't make decisions without talking to people. Every speed hump I've put in my ward, I sent out a petition, and then they have a chance to sign and say, do you want it or do you not? Because I represent them. So when you make decisions like that, and it's not you, okay, that's to Tina. All right, if you make that, and it's not you personally, but if he made that decision, he knows good and well that he should have let us know. And the only reason that I would believe that he wouldn't do that is he thought that somebody in the mayor's office didn't want us to know. And that's the only thing I can come from that, because that is not how I have worked with him. And in fact, when they did something on Natural Bridge that brought people out picketing, Rich Bradley will tell you I'm the one that stomped it down and talked to people and got people on board to sit down and talk. And we had the conversation then about you cannot just come into our neighborhoods and make decisions and you don't let the alderman know. We had a long conversation about that. So that's why I'm saying I'm just so irritated, because all these people, I've been telling them all summer long, oh, we're going to get them, and then I find out, oh, there was a conscious decision to wait and do this, and nobody said anything. And pretty much that's what everybody said that was on the committee.
I
I'm done.
appreciate that you are looking to see more communication and that you've been put in a difficult position from the residents who had different expectations. I, however, will not accept that you are always saying that this is a decision by the administration for political reasons, because none of this is being done for that. We are going by working with people that we know in the administration, in the different departments, and following their lead where they have the expertise. No one in the administration is doing anything to go against any particular alderperson or against any of the alder people. And if you want to cite us for not communicating with the streets department or with the chair of the streets and the different board of aldermen for that, I'm willing to take that. But do not make accusations that this administration is purposely going after or refusing to do things for certain alder people. We're trying
I
to
will,
create.
I will make it if I want to, because you guys lied on me. So I'm waiting for you to write a letter of apology, because you told a lie about what I had done, and then it was proven beyond any reasonable doubt. And I do not see where you withdrew and said, Alderwoman, you didn't hold it up because we didn't even have it. You told a lie on me, and the reason I didn't say they did, I said it is what I think, because I have dealt with Rich Bradley before this administration came on board, and that is not how he reacted. And I know him politically, and I know what people will do and what Rich will do if he thinks politics thinks he's supposed to do this politically. That's why he's asking you, should I release this information? He knows daggum well that he is required under the charter to release the information. It is not anything new. He's been here for a long time, but people start to get nervous about certain things that are happening. So that's why he's asking you, should he release something that he knows he already supposed to? That is my whole point.
But the point is that he did really, we did give him the thought, we did say, yes, you should be giving her that information. And you're locking on to things that aren't true. And I did not lie.
I am not locking on to things because he did not feel the need not to give me information before your administration. And the reason why he's asking that is because he feels uncomfortable. And he's not the other person. He's not the only person that feels that way. He feels uncomfortable because there's something coming from somebody, because they all long-term employees know that they have to release information. Okay. There is a city charter, and every time I request information, I send that portion of the city charter, which was passed in 2004, because you're not the only administration, because administrations did not want the Board of Aldermen to have things. So we actually did a charter change. And so when I say that, what I think is because I'm basing that on the reaction I get from the people and the misinformation that you put out on 2 occasions. So you can sit here and not like it all you want to. This is what I told you before. Stop that mess. You are not my equal, because you are not elected. You are an appointed official, and you do not know as much about what is going on in the city. Long-term history of what's going on makes a big difference, okay? And when people start acting different, there is a reason, so you start to look for that reason. If you don't like it pointing to the mayor's office, then you all shouldn't be putting your telling lies on the chair of streets and thinking that you're going to get away with that. And oh, she's holding this up. I don't have to introduce a daggum thing. So that what you put out, every time you put something out, oh, the mayor should veto her speed humps bill. Everything you're doing is why you're getting it back, okay? Because you are unprofessional in how you deal. Nobody has ever done that. In fact, the people I didn't get along in the mayor's office, if their person had done that, they wouldn't have a job. You have been given the okay to do that. And what I'm going to tell you is that makes me think the mayor did it, because you would not be doing this, and Rich Bradley would not be feeling uncomfortable to release data that is perfectly innocent data without somebody sending him a message. And so I think it's you or the mayor or Jared or whoever it is, then it doesn't work, because I'm going to get it and you can't cover it up. And so, yes, you said no, but why did he feel the need to ask you anyway? He's been sharing information with me for years. So why under this administration, he feels now, I got to ask if it's all right to share information I've been sharing for years. You need to ask yourself that question.
I will ask him that. I have no reason. I'm not going to answer to him why he thought he had to ask me that question.
Well, I tell you why, when you lie on me and the people who work for the city of St. Louis know that you're putting out lies, that scares them. So again, you might look in the mirror and say, did I put out something that was misinformation? Absolutely. And so we have nothing else to say. I will get any information from Rich that I want to get from Rich. He should not be asking you. There's no secret that he could keep that he's not supposed to share. And he only does that if he feels threatened. And I know him, and that's what I'm saying. So it is not threatened from me because I want the information. It's threatened from somebody in the mayor's office. And you all do not have to hear, because you don't hear anything you don't want to. But I'm telling you this from a long-term relationship. And some other people would tell you if you would listen. If you do not want to listen, then we are finished and this meeting is over. We don't have a Alderwoman from the 17th. Do you have anything else you want to bring before these 2 people? Alderwoman, we don't have a quorum. We don't have enough people here. You haven't heard what I said because you don't want to hear. but I'm telling you the truth. Alderwoman from the 17th, do you have anything else you want to bring before any of these two people? Alderwoman? Alderwoman Peel, can you hear me? She can't hear me. This meeting is adjourned.